So we're well on the way to Prague. Yesterday I found my favorite soda in the supermarket. It's called Cassis. In this case it's made by Fanta, but there's more than one that makes these. But it's only available, as far as I know, in either Holland or in Germany. And I love this stuff. It's like a blackcurrant Fanta, so to speak. Anyway, on the way to Prague, I got about 3.5 hours to go. Found a place to park in a spot, and I know I haven't been showing you much of the scenery so far, but it's gonna change. I'm gonna take you with me on a run. The sun has been popping out every so often. Right now it's a little bit overcast, but it's dry, and yeah, it's looking good. Spent some time yesterday, last night, to look at what to see in Prague. So I planned my running route, I think, along most of the scenic stuff downtown. There's a astronomical clock, the St. Peter Bridge, obviously, the cathedral. So anyway, I'll take you with me, and then later on today we'll discuss some more diving scuba wisdom, where we talk about the difference between experience and routine. And it's quite funny actually, because I saw Jeff had just posted another podcast on our podcast channel. So if you haven't heard it yet, go and check it out. It's fresh. And it's almost about the same topic. He talks about the logbook and how much that can or cannot tell you in regards to the experience of the diver. And he relates it back to his vast history as an airplane pilot and instructor. So it's a good listen. Give it a go. I've been keeping myself entertained with some good old-fashioned 80s big hair rock, Halloween, and the old album of Keeper of the Seven Keys. So check that one out too. It's good if you're into that sort of stuff. Anyway, back on the road, enjoying my Fanta Cassis, and see you in Prague. And here we are in Prague. I found a public pool on Google, and when I got there, it looked a little bit too dodgy to park an expensive car with 4 rebreathers and all sorts of stuff in. So Googled a bit more, found this hotel that has a pool which is open to the public even if you're not a guest, and they have a closed off parking lot as well. Paid, but it's worth it. So perfect. I'm gonna go park the car, get in my running shoes, and then take you on that run I promised. Literally like 3 minutes away, I'm already in like a picturesque monastery. But I seem to be, and there's also a little Eiffel Tower here. See this? A replica of the Eiffel Tower. But I seem to be on top of the hill, because there, all the way in the distance, you can see the river and the downtown where I'm headed. So yeah, nice and easy on the way down. It's gonna be tough on the way back. Anyway, there it is. Eiffel Tower replica. The Petite Eiffel. Who knew? One in France, one in Vegas, One in Prague. I've been to them all. Making my way down through some kind of gardens with like paths everywhere. That's what looks like a medieval wall. And down there. Yeah, it is a medieval wall. Look at that distinct tower. Imagine way back in those days, huh? Knights walking around here in armor. It's been going steep downhill. I don't know if you can tell, but well, I mean, mountain's right there. It's not that far, you know, as the crow flies. So that's gonna be an ass buster on the way back, but we'll see. Well, a little over 3K in the bank, and I think I'm halfway down. So, so far so good. I always think it's so interesting to walk or run through these old cities where you can see the blend of new and old, and how old buildings like this one are being repurposed. I don't know for what. It looks like a school or something. It's a sports club or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, interesting. I think those churches down there, that's what's called the Old Town. And that's where I'm headed. So downwards and onward. That's the famous Calls Bridge. Looks like it's packed with people. But we'll get there after. That's something you don't see every day. Airplane with butterfly wings on the side of a building. Anyway, we've come to downtown, I guess. This is a bit like swimming in that pool yesterday, zigzagging between all the people. Traffic jam. There it is. Old City Square. And there is the astronomical clock. And that big cathedral we could see from top of the hill. That's quite funny. A museum of steel sculptures. There's a minion made out of a gas tank. And more minions. Saw these as well in Vegas. It's like a medieval version of Vegas, this town. With the butterflies on the wall and funny sculptures and the modern stuff. Oh, that's quite cute. Candy miners. Welcome to the fairy tale mine. A little candy shop that is said like to be mining. That's quite cute. Oh, look, a fellow runner. I think I've reached the Charles Bridge, judging by the amount of people. Well, let's see how this goes. The Charles Bridge was constructed on 9th of July 1357, or it was started there exactly at 5:31 a.m. For some astrological reason, that the exact date and time was chosen. Don't ask me why. It is 500 meters long, roughly, and it connects the old districts of Old Town. It was constructed under King Charles IV, and primarily in a Gothic style. Later, there were added 30 Baroque statues, and apparently one of those statues, if you touch it, it gives you good fortune. I missed that one. Another legend has it that the mortar used for the foundation was mixed with eggs to give some extra strength. Well, who knows if that's true. Anyway, some kind of market going on here. It's like almost at the end of the bridge. I ran too far. I thought I was going to go over, but gotta go down here. I think they got their seasons mixed up. It's like a Christmas thing. It smells like blue wine and everything. This is what they call a rest in the interval. Clowns, carnival. This is weird kind of holiday. I don't know. Must be something I'm missing. I don't know. Freedom. Well, I'm out of the main city again. That means it's about to go uphill. So gonna have one of these to strengthen me up, and then the last 4K, 5K is probably gonna be uphill. It was supposed to be what's called a fartlek run, and fartlek is a Swedish term internationally adopted as a run workout. It means play with speed, and that's basically what I've done. Some whole parts walking in the crowd, and then having a good high tempo to get to the next spot. Anyway, I'm gonna pop this Joe and then go up the hill. Oh, so made it back to the car, grab my bag, now walking up around the hotel and see if I can get a swim in, and then find some place to eat. I'm hungry. I'm never gonna get a swim in. The pool is only 11 meters long, so I'm not gonna be swimming up and down 11 meters. I'll find the pool somewhere else, but I did buy access to the sauna this time, so I'm gonna sweat a little bit. Oh, that was nice. It was a hot sauna, 95 Celsius. And then the ice bath was cold. It was outside. It was actually like 3 degrees. I think between 3 and 4 degrees Celsius. So 3 rounds. And now I'm ready to go to bed actually, but I'm more ready to get some food in me. So I spoke to a receptionist at the hotel, and she recommended me a local little place here. So I'm going there to eat some local food. She started directing me to the downtown city center where I just came from. And I said, well, I went there, it looked all touristy, and she said, yeah, you're right, if you want local food, I can recommend you a place. See, that's, take it from me. Wherever I go traveling, I usually ask the locals for a local restaurant, and the crappier the pictures look on Google, the better it usually is. So, dumping the bags and actually walking over because it's right next to her to the hotel. So, perfect. Get something to eat, and then find a place to park the car so I can sleep. Found it. This is supposed to be the place. Let's see. Well, let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say that I ordered the wrong thing. Because, well, it hit the protein nutrients for chicken breasts fried in a batter. Tasted nice. And some sweet potato fries. But I would have liked a little bit more green. When I asked the waiter if he had some more greens, he just gave me the menu and buggered off for 20 minutes. So when he came back, I was like, nah, I'm fine, I'm good. So I walked past this shop here. I don't know if you can read the sign, but it says onion gelato, more than ice cream. So I mean, who can resist that? Holy moly, this is good ice cream. Kiwi flavored and cocos. Delicious. Made up for dinner. Alright, found a spot. A bit more exposed than yesterday, but I think it's alright. Anyway, let's continue with our conversation from last night about the Dunning Kruger Effect on us divers and the link between a concept I like to call experience is not the same as routine, and vice versa. So yeah, like I mentioned before, it's quite funny. Jeff actually made a podcast that's very close to this kind of topic about what your perceived level of experience, let's say competence is, or your experience level, based on a logbook. So give that podcast a listen. But yeah, so to continue where we left off yesterday, when you as a diver gain experience, what does that mean? Like, what does experience mean? In my mind, experience is lessons learned, right? I mean, you don't get any experience if there's never a lesson to be learned. And a lot of people, a lot of divers mistake routine for experience. This is also something Jeff touched on. It's like, okay, you can have a logbook with 100 dives, but if those 100 dives are on the same reef in the Caribbean at 20 feet along the same, bottom, and what's the worth of those dives actually, and the perceived experience or the perceived competence level might be skewed. Because I remember when I had the dive shop, a girl walks in and she says, hey, I'm about to move to Malta to start working as a dive instructor. And I said, well, that's great. I used to live on Malta and work as a dive instructor. Who are you going to work with? Well, she said, I'm going to work at Malta Aqua. I'm like, oh my God, this is a small world. I said, I worked for Malta Aqua. I mean, they're one of the biggest centers on Malta, so the chances are quite good. But then again, there, at the time I left, were 53 dive centers on the small island of Malta. So, but anyway, she was going to work there. Like, okay, great. So she was looking for some upgraded equipment. because she had taken her dive master and instructor class in the tropics. It doesn't matter where. I said, okay. I said, I'm more than happy to help you out, but as far as I know, they work with a brand that I don't carry. And if I know them correct, they will actually provide you with a very, very affordable staff price on equipment you might need there. So I'm more than happy to sell you some diving equipment, except I think that you will be well spent waiting a little bit and contacting Agnes, the owner, and asking her beforehand if this is still the case. So if not, more than happy to help you, but I think it is worth your while to give it a shot. And while we're having this talk, we're standing in between in an aisle where I had dry suits on the left and wetsuits on the right, and she's like feeling so I probably wanted to go for something like this, and she's tugging on a wetsuit. I said, well, to be honest, you're going there soon, and it's still chilly there. I was diving in a dry suit the whole year, or the whole season there, because the days are long. You do 4 dives a day, 6 days a week. You're gonna get cold, you know. Oh yeah, that's okay. And she keeps looking at the wetsuits, and so I said, this is what you want, you know. And she looks, what? And she didn't recognize that was a dry suit. So for a long story short, the poor girl was an instructor of a very well-known organization, and didn't know the difference between a wetsuit and a dry suit. I said, excuse me, what did you use? Well, all she dived in before was her bikini and a rash guard. Through, you know, she started as a backpacker, the standard wham bam, zero to hero development. And I'm like, okay, well, you're gonna be in for a shock, because it's not like the tropics there. It's shore diving, it's not boat diving. It is a little bit different. So when you're going, I said I'd suggest to go there at least a week or 2 before, and just go diving to get the lay of the land. All right, anyway, we had a talk with her, nice girl, and she left the shop. And I'm like, it's so easy to judge, you know. Oh my God, she's an instructor, blah, blah, blah. She should know better, da, 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 da. Yeah, it's so easy to judge. But you know what? It's not her fault. You know whose fault it is? The nitwit who taught her. The nitwit who told her, you're way up here. Your skill level is way up here. Look at the chart again, right? Her confidence was high. Her knowledge was extremely limited. Like, open water divers we produce have bigger knowledge about the equipment that's out there. It's not her fault. I'm a firm believer that there's no such thing as a bad student. There's only bad instructors. Let that sink a while I sink this wine. It's actually not bad for this like small bottle. No such thing as a bad student, only bad instructors. If a student comes unprepared, you should have told him or her to prepare it better. If they keep screwing up a skill after you've explained it, you have to find another way to explain it, because they're not getting it. So on and on. Always point the finger at yourself. There's no such thing as a bad student. Anyway, I digress. So her confidence level, according to the Dunning Kruger graph, was completely skewed. So now when we look at the experience, like I said, experience is gained by failures, by making mistakes and learning from them mistakes. She will gain a lot of experience in Malta very quickly, jumping into water, you know, in a rash guard, with you know, full foot fins, where she needs booties and a thick suit at least. So that's when she gains experience, because she made a mistake and then she learned, okay, I need other equipment. That's an experience, not routine. She's a lot of routine there in the tropics. It's not the same. So how can you, as a diver, gain experience by making mistakes, but all the time, at the same time, don't kill yourself in the process? This is what we call critical skills training. So when you move through the echelons, through the levels of progression within UTD, you will divert your attention from personal skills classes, like an essentials class, where we're basically focusing on you, the diver, and dealing with your personal toolbox of skills, how to handle yourself underwater. There's propulsion, trim, techniques, knowledge about ratio deco and rock bottom, all that sort of personal stuff, how to send up an SMB, all that sort of stuff. Now, when you progress along, recreational 3 diver, recreational diver, Tech 1 diver, the courses that we're going to do in a couple of days here with the rebreathers, they become what we call critical skills. And this is where we put simulated failures in a controlled environment in place to make you think, to make you go over in your mind and say, hey, wait a minute, I need this and this personal skill. I need the valve drill to be able to reach my valves, to close a valve, to stabilize a situation. I need the back kick to stay in position. I need good situational awareness of where my team is, to make them aware of the fact that I have something going on behind my back. The team has to come in, has to realize what's going on, have to use their brain to communicate to another teammate maybe, or has to be aware of that they're drifting away from the wreck or drifting down into the silt. All this sort of stuff are failures they will make based upon a failure on equipment that we produce. And then during the video debrief, we can dissect them and they get a chance to see what they did wrong. And then guess what? The dive after, similar stuff happens. So they get the chance to do the same things and not make the same mistakes. And now they've gained experience without killing themselves. At least virtually killing themselves. And it rarely happens, actually, even though you might think so. But I usually say in those classes, there's no real wrong solution to these critical skills failures. There's only more efficient and less efficient. And we see this when we do the initial cave training, for example. It's very common in there. You put one small failure that is totally fixable underwater, and the team goes, oh, this is broken. Let's get out of here. Boom. And they get out. Is that dangerous? No. Is that wrong decision? I don't think so. If their mind was unable to deal with that at that moment, if their mind was not capable of distinguishing between a fixable and a non-fixable, per definition, it becomes non-fixable because the brain was non-fixable. Right? Let that sink again. Cheers. So there's no wrong decision there. Was it less efficient? Yeah, for sure. Because if the brain was switched on, and if they've had the chance to learn from a previous mistake, then they would figure out, oh, wait a minute, I don't have to waste my dive. I can fix this issue, potentially, and continue, potentially. And this is the progression. So what you'll see when we do that sort of training with people, we get them from all sorts of walks of life, right? We get people that do a crossover on a technical level, and we get people that have grown up with us through that progression. Now, we make a strong point in our materials to constantly keep the door to aisle number 3 open, so they get to see that is behind door number 1 they're training. They've now entered door number 2 for the next level of their training, but they can peek. Ooh, what's behind door number 3? We let them peek constantly to make them aware that there's something that they don't know. It's so important. So when we see the progression of the divers that come through there, that initial graph is much more slopey. It's much more easy. And we try to avoid that peak, because we all eventually hit the peak of Mount Stupid. But what happens there, if people come from another walk of life and they're almost at the top of peak Mount Stupid, they're gonna go into despair. They're gonna fall down that cliff on the other side and be completely destroyed. And this is usually what we see on the eBay dive, or the day 3 of a technical critical skills class diving, when things start to crumble and they start to, you know, become a little bit discouraged, because holy shit, this is difficult, this is hard, I need to think about all these things, and maybe there's some gaps in their personal skills that they start to come to light. And this is where it is so important for you, the instructor, and this is where we use a lot of our power in these higher classes IDCs, in these tech IDCs, is to make sure the instructor recognizes these signals very early on. Because we do not believe in breakdown dives. We do not believe in this big dick attitude of instructors that just relentlessly, mindlessly dump failures on top of divers to make them feel that it hurts. It's super easy. It's super easy to boil someone's over so that they completely lose the plot of everything. That's not teaching. That's just bullshit. I mean, as far as I know, even the US Navy had dropped that break and repair philosophy, and they've got months to train with these SEALs or whatever they are. So we don't prescribe to it. We prescribe to a gradual positive reinforcement based learning experience. As we like to call it, we set the student up for success. Now, do we do that in a way so that it leaves nothing to the imagination? No, definitely not. I very often purposefully withhold information to test the student where their mind is at. If I give you all the answers to the coming multiple choice, and then when you get the multiple choice, then all of a sudden all your questions are 100% correct. Perfect. Some of them you would have known, others you didn't know, you would fill in because I just told you just before. Now, where does that leave you? You guessed it. It leaves the instructor in the Dunning Kruger effect, because the instructor has a high level of competence in the student's abilities, except the knowledge is completely short, because he has no idea which of the questions they knew from themselves and which of the questions they only knew from monkey see, monkey do, and to just regurgitate what you just told them. So very often I use a technique where I don't purposefully tell them everything what's going to happen and how to handle with it. And I just let it play out. This is a perfect way for me to see where the weaknesses and strengths and where the thought process of these divers go in certain dives. And that way we can tweak and tune the class so that they both, or that they all of them, get the best learning experience from it. Because that's the end goal, right? So yeah, there's a definite difference between experience and routine. Be aware of this. There is a shortcut to get more experience, and we call this critical skills training. It is a very concentrated form of getting experience. And then, end of the day, when we look at you, what can you do? I kind of alluded to it yesterday. If you're not in a course scenario, but you're happy enjoying the plateau, in the words of George Leonard, another little book plug, Mastery by George Leonard. Go look it up, it's a good book. If you're enjoying the plateau of your development, how can you make sure that you stay sharp? Question what you're doing. It's very simple. Question what you're doing. As soon as there's a question mark underwater during the preparation or whatever, go and search why. You're going to make a dive that you're certified to do. You're preparing your rebreather, you're preparing your twin set, you're analyzing your gases, whatever you're doing, and the question comes up, there's no such thing is a stupid question. Call up your instructor. Send me an email, for fuck's sake. I don't care. Do something to develop your thinking process. Read a book. Find it online. Whatever. Well, maybe that last one. Be careful with that. Because don't go on a forum and get some wisdom there. Because Jesus. Holy moly. Yeah, no, don't go there. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that little talk. Let's take this a progression further tomorrow. Maybe we'll do a little bit of a gear shift tomorrow in regards to the positive effects of the Dunning Kruger Effect, and let's see what we can do there. I am spent. I am tired. It's almost 9 o'clock. I'm gonna go second floor in a minute, and maybe I'll edit the video from yesterday and see if I can upload that, and then that's it for me. Tomorrow I've got a drive to Vienna. I'm gonna go to Vienna, Austria. So let's see what that's about. I've never been in Vienna, so that should be interesting. Got a bike ride tomorrow, so I gotta see if I can dig out my bike from beneath all these rebreathers in the back of the truck. So I'll take you there. But for now, I'm signing off. Good night.